Alright, I'm back with another video. Today I'm kind of doing a little something different, going away from the comics for a little bit. I guess we'll just check it out. So today I kind of want to go into the Saw movies. So the Saw movies are something that I watched as a kid. Um I had a pretty good childhood if that's how I grew up, kind of engraved into that lore of traps, kills. So, growing up watching Saw, obviously, every Saw movie that comes out is going to be a different take and a different spin. Um, I've watched a number of reaction or ranking channels that will sit down, they'll watch all 10 movies, they'll put it on like a scale of 1 to 10, or like Papa Meat had his board. Shout out to him. I definitely sat down and I definitely looked at numerous videos that ranked each movie, and the biggest thing for me is that I have been watching Saw since, like I said, since the movie started coming out. I would watch them on VHS, watch them on DVD. And did I ever go and see one in theaters? I don't think so. But I do have a unique kind of spin on this. So it's acting, plot alone, creative kills. Now, am I going to be deep diving into some of the character traits of these people? Absolutely. That's another reason why the video is probably going to be like close to about 20 minutes long. I'm not really comfortable making a long video that's over exceeds like a 45-minute mark video, just to kind of fit everything that I could possibly say about it. Plus, I mean, I don't really have all the rest of the videos kind of deduced in that way, where I break it down character by character. Um, but it's not going to be that tedious, I promise. So, um, right. So I kind of scripted it. I kind of scripted what I was gonna say. Obviously, in like the first couple minutes, I couldn't do script. I try to keep all biases off the table. When you're a longtime fan of all the movies, there is a certain bias as I rank them differently. So obviously, characters like Detective Mark Hoffman, Detective Peter Strom, and Detective Eric Matthews, those are characters that are kind of like, you find a overall bias for it. For me and my mother, who also watched this movie with me, and I kind of bent her arm as just like, you're gonna rank these with me. She definitely, both her and I both love Mark Hoffman. By the way, if you have not watched the movies, I'm sorry, but huge spoilers for almost every single movie, because I'm not just shallow cutting the surface here. I'm deep diving. So there's other characters that we also kind of hate, um, or that we just don't like, and those characters are obviously just trash can worthy. That being Jill Tuck, Amanda revived, so obviously in Saw 10, it was like, ooh. I mean, for me, when I first watched it, I thought Saw 10 was, and we'll get there. We'll get to Saw 10. Um, I know that my mother deeply despised it. She didn't like the way Amanda looked, and maybe whenever I get down to like that video, I'm probably gonna adjust my score that I gave it, because I was kind of trying to keep everything kind of close and well knit. Um, and I wasn't kind of giving my authentic take on it. I was kind of just saying what I had to say. So, because I didn't want to start an argument. um, And then obviously Chris Rock. Okay, so already right off the bat, I'm gonna let you know Spiral. Oh, you know what? Maybe Spiral wasn't that bad. See, so when the video pops up, what I normally like to do is, or while I'm working on the script, I will re-watch some parts to kind of remember a lot more of where the plot was going. So I did that for Saw 2. I kind of did that for Saw 3. And it's just so that I could revisit some of those scenes and say, okay, was it really that bad? Was I over critical about these things? Should I have been a little bit more lenient? Or, and it helps me write the script pretty good. So in Creative Kills, it is meant to look at all the traps that are set within the movie. And other kinds of dream deaths, because there's like countless dream deaths. You have Saw 10 with the eye trap. You got other types of deaths like Jill Tuck with the blade that Mark Hoffman sends it her way. So obviously, there's not going to be just one type of kill like with traps. It's going to have everything kind of bundled up in a neat little deal. And other ways that someone has died without a trap, right? I think in Saw 1 right off the bat, you have a couple of people that are kind of killed. Like, oh, can I remember his name? Man, is it? Man, I'm trying to remember. Danny? Is it Danny Glover? I think it's Danny Glover. And I'm gonna go through all my points. So maybe I should just stick to the script. um, the point system is just a little different. Each category has 40 points max, which is kind of like a unique thing because you're not really looking at it at 100%. You're looking at everything like, okay, was it 40? Was it? I was going to say $40. Was it 40 points worth it? Right. So 40 being the highest, and obviously 0 being the lowest. The max amount of points that can be scored on a singular movie is 120 points. Okay. Um, I will briefly go over why my scores are the way they are. However, obviously, my mom is not going to be in these videos, even though I would love to have her opinion on them, and be able to kind of be here to kind of give you her explanation. So let's kick off right in the beginning. So let's jump right into Saw. For starters, Saw is always the most iconic and the most known. Obviously, whenever you pop in a movie, um, Saw is going to be something where it's just like, wow, this is kind of different. This is kind of new. I can't even remember how many times I've honestly watched it, but I know that it has been a lot of times. And when I was rewatching it to give it the score, it was so hard to separate my biases. But I think overall, the scores that I gave it was genuine. For plot alone, I gave it a 35 out of 40. So it's definitely really good. But me, I've been super critical. And I think you'll tell every single time that I don't think I ever gave a single movie 40 points. I gotta be honest, I think there's always room for improvement. You can enjoy the movie, but there's always those little inconsistencies that just, I don't know. Um, Thinking about the setup of the game, the cops, and Zap, who was also orchestrating the oversight of the game and keeping the family hostage until the game was over, simply is a masterpiece, absolutely. But I did find that having two games teased, the flammable gel with the candle game and the barbed wire game, was a tease that I would have definitely wanted to see happen live. I mean, they definitely gave us within the Saw franchise different places they gave us like definitely too many teasers, and it's just like, dude, you cropped out some of the best games that I would have loved to have seen them wake up, fail, have a whole story on them. It kind of like defeats the purpose a little to tease it, but at the same time, you gotta do it for time and you know uh, hire the actors and stuff like that and have them do all the lines and come up with so much stuff. So I kind of see why they teased it. I know that later on in the movie franchise, they do tease about the barbed wire trap. But I did wish I could have seen a place for those two games. In reflecting on the movie, I couldn't help but realize that Gordon did in fact lose the game. So that's undoubtedly, he lost the game. He failed, and if his wife didn't break free from the ropes and protected herself, that the game would have been way different. And if Adam's key wasn't put in the tub with him and was able to walk around, the game would have also been very different. So you got two of these bigger points in the game where coincidentally it just so happens that Gordon's wife breaks free at the same exact time that Zepp is going to make the phone call. Zepp makes a phone call to Gordon. Gordon picks up the phone. Then you hear gunshots, you hear screams, you hear crying, you hear all these things. And that's what ticks Gordon to ultimately saw off his own leg or his own foot, right? When you think about it in the way that the story was supposed to be set up, it was kind of like, okay, this is like last ditch effort. You gotta do something like right stinking now. But he had this entire time, right? He could have been thinking about all these things during the game being played. I've never seen a single game after this Saw movie where you're given not, this guy was, Gordon and Adam were both given a lot of time to really make their decision. You don't see that in the other games unless it's with like a group of 5. Or the only way that you're given a lot of time is when they're going from location to location to location to location playing a game, like Officer Briggs. But I mean, you don't really see that scenario or that setup the way that it was at that point, which kind of hurts a little because you take away from the story, kind of, or the character development, I should say. So that's just in my opinion. Um, One of the biggest downfalls that this movie made was having Zepp decide to kill Gordon. I feel like that was the biggest wrong decision because his only objective was to kill the wife and daughter. And I know that sounds awful, but that's the way the movie is, right? It's exactly like that. It led to an unnecessary chase that took us to the location of where the game took place. And Zepp dies by toilet lid by Adam, right? Which honestly, I hated Zepp, but I think having him go all the way just to die was a poor decision in his part. So, honestly, I think my biggest gripe about this movie is Zepp. He had one job. And did he do it? No. He didn't do his job. Now that I got all my complaints out of the way, now that I complained about all these little minor inconsistencies that would have maybe given it a 40 instead of, 35, I want to go into a little bit of some highlights. So this is where it kind of gets a little lengthy. Okay, so Dr. Gordon, right off the bat, right? A serious player, after realizing that his family is in danger and is about to lose everything, decided to saw off his own foot and give the audience a genuine sense of relatability, right? Kind of like, would we chop off our own stinking foot if our family was captive and you could hear gunshots and stuff? Yeah, I think so. Um, in that, it came down to either sawing off your own foot and saving your life, or dying in that room. We would probably fight to stay alive. Just makes sense, right? Adam, the other character in this game, played by none other than the one who also wrote the screenplay, Leah 1L, plays Adam with one of the most iconic players in the Saw franchise, I think. I think he's one of the best. In my opinion, there are only a few characters that over the span of 10 movies, 10 and a half, if you count the footage of the movie, the pitch movie, kind of, Adam is one of the key cornerstones to the franchise. In my opinion, I believe that whenever you think Saw, you think Adam and Gordon. You think right off the bat. There's no other faces. And then, of course, you got Tobin Bell, right? So that's who I want to talk about next, Tobin Bell. Having the main man behind the game inside the room with them the entire time was one of, if not the best reveals at the end of the movie. Having him awaken and later revealing the setup of that game, it gave me such an appreciation that the cast all deserved a purpose and they were all critical. Tobin Bell is obviously one of those people. I wish they would have built his character just a little differently to have more scenes like this. So that's just how I feel about how Tobin Bell, a really amazing actor, and not just actor, but also playing as John Kramer, I think that it's important that you build up that character before you kill him off in the third movie. You know, it's kind of disappointing. I would have loved to see more John Kramer and work kind of hand in hand with Mark Hoffman that was visible throughout these games and progression and steps. And then that's when you kind of get that authentic feel of the story. So, moving on, Detective David Tapp and Steven Singh. Two of these guys stinking amazing, right? The characters. Anyway, I couldn't wish this enough that these characters were amazing in this movie as well. So killing both off in this movie was a really big gripe for me. Danny Glover, that's right, Danny Glover definitely would have been an awesome Jigsaw game to see, I think. But I digress. One of the strongest kills was Steven Singh's, where shotguns were hung overhead, shot down on him, and killing him immediately. I was definitely blown away by his death, by far. That was one of the coolest kills. And I don't think we'll ever see another good kill like that, unless Saw 11 delivers. Cohesive. So this is a part of the kind of build up, right? So the biggest part for me is cohesiveness. If the movie is not cohesive, you're not going to have a good movie. I feel like if you don't have character development, if you don't have all these things that build up internally, you're not going to enjoy the movie. You're just going to be like, dude, this is like a hunk of junk. This is epic movie with kills, you know? Obviously, the movie couldn't be close to being loved if the movie didn't make any sense. Which this movie was a smash hit with a building of suspense and also giving the audience all feelings of emotion while still giving a well-rounded delivery. Well put. I wish I would have just slapped that as the title. Just well put. Just, you know. Creative kills. So this is now the next topic. I gave it a 35 out of 40. We get to see a total of 6 traps, including the shotgun overhead. So that's what I kind of titled it to kind of keep things flowing. So, as previously mentioned, Zepp was the only trap that could have ended if he wasn't faulty for going to the warehouse when his rules were simple. That's like dullest kill. You want to see, what is it? Dead Meat, the YouTube channel, Dead Meat. I kind of gave it like the best kill, worst kill. So please don't get mad at me. Acting, 35 out of 40. And as previously stated, I think you could get the gist of why my scores reflect that notion and the idea. And that's without any bias. Out of all the Saw movies, this one was the one that my mother and I were torn on putting it first or placing it lower on the list. Its final score of 105. And it is one of the very few times we actually saw eye to eye with each other about the ranking of this movie. I couldn't help but feel after watching every Saw movie, however, that other YouTubers such as Pappa, Dalt, Chandler talks about also gave rankings for Saw. And after watching all of them and seeing that they where they stood on the movie franchise, Pappa and Dalt, they both placed their Saw movie in second place. Meanwhile, Sean Chandler talks about placed it at third place, which I could see why that would have been the case. After I looked at the videos, I looked at IMDb for their ranking of each Saw movie, so that it's kind of also giving like, how did the box office take it? They placed Saw at a 7.6 rating, putting it first in the list, but I felt like there were even higher, more like Saw movies than just Saw. Anyway, I appreciate you guys tuning in. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. I know that Saw 2 I'm going to be doing pretty soon, so just stay tuned. If you like this video, please press the thumbs up button. And if you're not subscribed yet, subscribe.